Mr. Oh, hey, how's it going? All right.
Oh, hey, too late. We got to cut that off.
Cut. Take two.
Welcome back, everybody. The Can-Am Connection. We are live on our usual day at an unusual time. How you guys doing?
I'm struggling right now because my car seat on the driver's side is all the way back to the back seat. It's stuck in that position.
Ghost riding the whip.
How do you
Man,
drive?
well, because it's electric and it goes forward and backwards, but the back portion that goes like this went all the way back and now it's stuck like that. And I've gone on YouTube before because they've got me out of a lot of jams about how to do this, how to do that without spending a bunch of money. So I was looking over some videos yesterday, and one video said if your back seat goes all the way back, gets jammed, then just go all the way back, put the switch a couple of times. It should go ahead and ignite and go this way. Problem is that it never did that, so it's all the way back, and now I got to lean my elbow and arm on the center console and drive like this. It's super uncomfortable.
So you put it all the way back and it didn't come back for you.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see a picture of that when you're driving.
Yeah, we got to see a video of you like leaving for work or something.
Well, I mean, I'm off. I was off yesterday. I'm off today. I'm gonna fiddle with it some more. Probably call up some people and go, "Hey, what do you guys charge to get this thing back?" Because I bought the car in Eugene, Oregon. So,
Well, man, I don't know.
yeah, it's rough. But other than that, I'm doing all right.
Yeah. So you want to start it off with a bang here, guys?
Let's do it. That's what we do, right?
I got to talk
Why not?
about
Wouldn't
something.
have it
We gotta
any
talk
other
about
way.
something. So as you guys know, I released my poster and some stuff about the Arnold's qualifier I'm putting on December the 7th.
Which I like, by the way.
Yeah, so it's looking good. It's getting a lot of attention. A lot of people responding. I think we're going to have a great turnout. Everything's going well. So as I'm going through and I'm selecting arm wrestlers from across Canada to invite to this thing, I notice that there's some people missing. Well, one in particular missing from my list. And before I go any further with that, well, I discover that I am now blocked on all social media. I was like, well, what the hell? So I log into my real estate account. I am blocked by this person on there. I thought, okay, maybe they deleted all their social media profiles.
Now it's getting personal.
So I go to my other account.
How many accounts you got, man?
Unidentifiable. Well, I'm an administrator on several pages, so you can log in on those just to investigate. And I see that I am, in fact, blocked from a certain somebody's account. And if you go back like a few weeks, you guys probably would have seen on the Manitoba Arm Wrestling Association, I asked actually in Saskatchewan as well. I thought, a couple provinces over would be enough. Is there any conflicts? And it turns out like I was aiming for September. There was conflicts. There was tons of conflicts. There was September and November, or September, October, November were basically full every week or two with a tournament. So I settled in on December the 7th. And I ended up, I picked the date. I started getting messages from a certain somebody saying that they posted a year ago on the Alberta Arm Wrestling Association that they were holding a tournament on the same day. I was like, well, for two things going on here. Number one, your tournament and my tournament are a 15-hour drive apart. They're not catering to the same group, and the different demographic will come out here. Somebody that wants to, if you're traveling that far, you're planning on going to the Arnolds. Now you want to do that. So, I thought he saw my point. He did say a bunch of weird stuff like the Arnolds isn't prestigious anymore anyway. Who cares? So I can only imagine what he's saying to other people. And then when I released the poster, just poof, I'm gone. So this is somebody I considered like really close at one point, but it's no surprise that he's found himself in conflicts out there and more conflicts. Well, with me, I guess it's over. I mean, there's no talking about it, although he does watch this show sometimes because I've been a huge supporter of his in the past, from everything from doing his social media to creating the pages to helping promote to showing up out there to displaying logos on this channel just because. But it's amazing. You step out of line with some people and they just cut you off. It's getting to be this is my venting session, my soapbox, if you will. But I mean, it's pretty goddamn stupid because I even talked to Kane Hemsing. I talked for Fit to Fight. He's like, no, we got this tournament this time. I'm like, great. I will avoid that date. Move it on. Talk to the Manitoba guys. They had a couple things going on. Great. I'll move it on to this date. And finally, I wasn't getting any responses until after I picked a date.
So remember our show last week, Ryan, and Tim, you missed this, and we talked about, and basically last week's show was a soapbox in itself. And we talked about, is our sport being too saturated with tournaments? And this kind of goes back to, what we talked about last week, and Tim's having technical difficulties in Beantown. So the thing you got to realize is that we had the same situation a few weeks ago at one of the qualifiers from the WSA, right, in Texas.
Yeah.
They put on the amateur tournament the same day, same weekend, South Texas. I'm like going, okay, that's fine, I guess. But just know that there are some people from Corpus Christi, Texas that made the trip up to Fort Worth to compete. But my thing is this. Why does everybody feel the need that this is my date, everybody should come to my event? And it's like going, if you're X amount of hours away, why does it matter?
And if it's just a one-off, like if it's just a tournament as part of your circuit there in a certain region, or you're holding the kids tournament and you're focused on that,
right?
These are not the same things. Like if I'm probably not going to show up to a Saskatchewan circuit tournament to just win a trophy and come home. I used to do that early in my career because that's what you did as your career progressed. But if I had an opportunity for something bigger and to go on, and by the way, it looks like it's the same entry fee for these two events, but I would opt to go to the other one. And there's certain people that probably will come here from Alberta that would not have gone to his event anyway. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation here because, when you block me and you don't block my wife, you're making sure that,
Yeah,
I find out about it,
That's a kick in the stomach. You almost want to get to a point where you kind of go, okay, dude, let's talk this thing out. Say what you got to say.
Out, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, because that's I'm sorry. Well, we're only 8 minutes into the show, so I'm not going to say what I want to say. But my thing is this, okay? Like, dude, are promoters getting so selfish, or they're getting so butthurt that they're afraid when another event is, on the same weekend that you're going to take my entries? Is that what it is?
So, Jody, Arizona State, I had two promoters get a hold of me that are, I'll just say region. I'm not going to say who it is, whatever. But in the Midwest and on the East Coast, that I put Arizona State on the same day.
That shouldn't affect either of them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
because they're like, oh, our top guys are choosing to come to your event, and it's going to hurt us. I'm like, I can't help that. I can't help if they are choosing to leave a tournament in their backyard to come to my tournament. I can't help that. It's not my choice.
Yeah, run a better event if you want to be competitive. Obviously, they're picking you for a reason. Maybe they need to find out what the reason is.
Well, it's almost to a point where you're kind of handcuffing those people. Well, come to my event, and you're handcuffing them. Like, we already got issues with people, with contracts and all that kind of stuff, and you're basically doing that without signing anything. So, if this particular person doesn't think that the honors is relevant, okay, fine. You know, in his opinion, that might be true.
Somebody
here to
that's
tell
gone
you-
to the Arnolds in the past. Like,
What's that?
and somebody that's gone in the past. And somebody that could go and have a good shot of winning now because they're offering a left-hand division.
I guarantee you, if this thing blows up with the potential I think it might, I guarantee you he's going to either, one, come to your event next year if you plan on throwing another qualifier, or B, he's going to have his own. Watch what I tell you.
Well, the crazy thing is this. There's a whole bunch of people that he has influence over that he'll probably say all kinds of shit to.
Right.
Like, don't go to the Arnolds. It's not as prestigious as it used to be.
Oh, come on.
It's the Arnold Classic is important enough to me that it is on my bucket list. And I have delayed major things in life based on going to the finals. In fact, I'll say this. My daughter, who was almost on the cusp of not participating in the sport anymore, is now coming to practice tonight because even though she's only 16 years old and there is no youth tournament, she may throw her arms into the December 7th tournament in the adult division to try to qualify for the Arnold Classic. If she places top 3, and if she does, it's probably going to be with her left hand. Her and I will get to go compete together at the Arnold Classic.
And that would be an awesome,
Yeah.
father-daughter moment too. Claymore, so let me ask you this. The Arnolds will be the weekend. It's February 28th through March 1st. So that 2025, Columbus, Ohio. Here's the deal, right? Because promoters need to chill the hell out. Because number one, what else is happening on December 7th?
Well, there's some other stuff, but I'll tell you, the best tournament in Canada is going to be in Manitoba.
Because I'm telling you right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think LeRae Jenkins and his Great American Bash is that same weekend. But you don't hear him, belly aching about all that stuff either,
When I'm assuming there's going to be lots of amazing qualifiers for the Arnolds across the United States. This one is in Canada. It is the opportunity for Canadian athletes and the northern central states to come up and qualify. I mean, they certainly could, but the fact of the matter is you've got to find somewhere where you can place top 3 to move on to the finals.
Right. Has that particular person seen what High Five guys are actually doing? Like, they said, look, we're going to have some qualifiers all across North America and some in like Korea and Brazil or whatnot. They're trying to take this thing a step forward. So for him to say, oh, it's not relevant anymore, bro, I understand that maybe the names or the talent per se have kind of dwindled as in years past. I'll say that, but still, we're trying to get it back to what it used to be, and you got to start somewhere. Granted, it took a year off and COVID came around, and I get all that, but for him to sit there and say things like, oh, it's not relevant anymore, okay, let me know what's not relevant about it.
You know what's less prestigious than the Arnold qualifier? A local tournament.
There you go.
What can I tell you?
Well, and once you ask Cody Merritt, he just popped in. Hey, Cody, now that the Arnold Classic is going to offer a left-hand class, would you be interested in participating in one of the qualifiers? Watch what a world champion will say about this. Because I'm telling you this, and I know, SB, deep down, you've done it all in this sport, except one thing. And that's the one thing you're actually going, you know what?
Once again, this
The Arnold is the one thing you haven't done yet. You've gotten the Hall of Fame, you've gotten your WAF titles, you've gotten your Canadian National Provincial, you've done everything in this sport known to mankind, except for one thing, and that is the one thing you're trying to get. Am I right or wrong?
You are absolutely correct.
Okay.
So maybe we see Cody Merritt at Washington State this year to qualify? I don't
Yes,
know.
Cody.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't
Down
know.
the
I don't know
road.
if he's got
Down
it
the
in him
road.
anymore.
Here's the thing, guys, and everybody in the chat. You got to understand something. To make something prestigious again, you got to start somewhere. You got to start at the bottom and work your way up. So, number one, it's not ran under the same promotion it was in years past. So there's that. Number two, they're trying everything. And we all know, we've all been to the Honor before. And they're going to have their own booth, which means there ain't no 2-hour time limit. All right, 11:30, get the fuck off the stage. We got the next sport coming on the stage. There ain't going to be none of that. It's straight up. They got their own booth. We're going to be competing left and right-handed. End of. That's exciting to me, especially as a left-hand match.
Well, I think there's actually going to be more stuff released because what I'm gathering, don't quote me, I think there's going to be multiple locations that we're going to be arm wrestling as well.
Oh, wow.
I think it might be like, because I think we're arm wrestling Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Whether there's super matches going on, tournaments going on, I think that.
All right, Cody. My
I
bad.
don't have to worry about beating Cody Merritt.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard something about that. Anyways, yeah. That just threw me off. Yeah, anyways, I don't know if it's for sure, but I heard something along the lines of like inside the hotel convention being arm wrestling, and then like getting to a certain point of the tournament, and then you go to like the booth to arm wrestle, and then like finals on the main stage type shit. I don't know.
See, I can confirm that the part of the plan is that the regular tournament, like the elimination rounds, do not happen on the main stage. Just the finals are on the main stage.
Right.
I've also heard them toss around ideas like super match arm wrestling there as well. And they talked about, maybe separating some of the elite guys into, because the guys that are already having matches on the high five don't need to win the Arnolds because they're going to be guaranteed that match anyway. So we'll open it up for someone else.
Right.
I still think it's really important to win that tournament, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be. Here's what I'm worried about. How many total qualifiers are there going to be? Because if you're talking a year with a different promoter, different left and right, 7 weight classes left and right, women's, masters, I think, like
I didn't
that's
see
a
any
lot.
masters.
They got a master's class?
Maybe not masters, but maybe just women's then.
Women's have 2 classes.
Yeah. So a total of 9 classes, right? And then left and right, so that's 18 total classes. So if you do the math, and you have, say, I think right now there's like, I want to say like over 10 qualifiers. So that's almost 60 people.
That's 10 qualifiers is 30 people per class.
It's top 3.
Big tournament.
It's top 3.
Yeah.
So that's 60 people per qualifier. So just hypothetically, everybody shows up. It's going to be impossible to have 600 entry tournament at Arnold's. So what are they going to do?
I don't think everybody shows up. Well, for one thing, I don't think everybody shows up, but I think.
Okay, even half, say half. That's 300 entries. That's 3 times the amount of any Arnold ever.
This is true.
So, and if you're running it in a booth, I understand it's a massive booth, but if you've been to the Arnold's, there's no sitting at these booths.
Well, they're going to have to pivot. They're going to have to pivot and do what you said, Tim. Like they're going to have to do elimination rounds. It might end up being a 3-dayer.
Yeah, I mean, because if you think about it, you're gonna have you can't just have a like, say if there's 176 class, you can't just have all those guys over there waiting to pull. There's nowhere for them to wait, and to try to call someone's name to get.
Well, they have a pit, Tim.
Huh?
Like in years past, when they called a certain class up, they have a pit, and you hang out in the pit, and when they call your name, you got 30 seconds to get to the table on the stage.
How many people in that pit?
I don't know. Like that pit is going to be tough, man.
So if you have top 3 and 10, that you 30 people in a pit?
they would have whatever weight class. That's how they would. When I went in 2019, that's how they did that. Like, hey, super heavyweights, get ready. They had 3 tables. They ran all that whole class on those 3 tables, so everybody was in that pit.
I think it's gonna have to be like they're gonna run the 176 and super heavyweights from 8 to 10, and then from 10 to 12 the 76s and 242s, and then from 12 to whatever. If you finish early, you finish early, but you can't start until that time slot, so people can come at their time slot. That's gonna be the only way this works.
Yeah.
You can't have everybody say hypothetically 400 entries there at the same time waiting for their name to be called. You have to stage it and give everybody an itinerary to be there for a time slot.
Yeah, you're right, because there is no place to sit. Like,
No,
unless you
there's
get
no
there early
seating,
and go,
nothing.
I'm taking a seat. There's nowhere to sit. It's
And
that packed
and it's
crowded.
at a booth, right? So 4 tables at a booth are still on the ground
Mm-hmm.
and not on elevated on a stage either.
Well, the tables will be on the stage, right? Or is it
At a
just the
booth?
actual booth itself?
At a booth? I didn't know
Yeah.
there was a stage at the booth.
Oh, damn. Well,
Maybe.
wow.
I'm sure they got it figured out, but I mean,
It's going to
Will has
take
been
an
a part
army
of
of a team to
Yeah.
put it together, is what it's going to be.
I'll say this. Of the 3 people on this screen right here, 2/3 of them will be in charge of hosting the qualifier. I would say those 2 people need to get a hold of the powers that be and go, look, we were talking about this out loud. Hey, I think y'all even have a meeting or something like that. Every person holding a qualifier needs to be in some kind of group chat or whatnot and have a meeting with the powers that be. That would be my suggestion. That way we iron this stuff out now before, we have all these qualifiers, and then when it's all said and done, we ready to roll, and we're still stuck in gear number 1.
No, I totally agree. I think that there needs to, I mean, how big their army is, I don't know, but being a guy who's hosting the qualifiers, I do have a meeting scheduled with them to ask these questions, because I want to be able to be prepared to tell people who come from my event there how it's going to look and all that. I just don't want to see it not work, because it's something that could be so good for this sport. For that, we don't need a flop from this. We need it to be the best they could be.
Especially for you, since your first one's going to be August 3rd, right around the corner.
Yeah.
Like, that's what, in a couple weeks? Next week?
It's this weekend.
Yeah, so you would have to know, like, look, well, I need to tell my guys and girls what they're looking for, and then come December on your second one, you'll have a better idea.
Yeah.
And then the cutoff is December 31st. So we will know. I'm not sure what the process is, Tim. Do you know? Like, do we need to? I guess they're going to reach out to all 3.
Yeah. So I think we have to
top.
send in our results, and like at every qualifier, like get everybody's full name, email, and phone number, and send it off, and then that way they all have to sign up and pay. They're going to know how many entries they have by the end of December, and that's really where the hardcore planning has to be prepared.
Yeah.
Because if I remember right, I believe that everybody will be wearing the same jersey. I think we're getting provided with jerseys for this event, so
Are they going to be
it's going to
purple?
be
Have to make 500 jerseys.
it's going to be a lot.
Yeah. Jerseys with the name, just like if you're competing at Knuckles Up.
Yeah.
There's going to be a dress code. So I remember when I went, there's a dress code too.
Yeah, it's going to be, I believe it's going to be black athletic sweats or whatever, no shorts, black shoes, and you have to wear your jersey. Like, it'll be pretty professional.
Got it.
Black shoes even. Okay.
That's how it was when I went.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was that way with us too. Actually, I think I have a picture of me arm wrestling in jeans in 2001 at the Arnold's.
Whoa. That was in the Karen and Frank Bean era, though, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How were we at the 25th minute or whatever? I have a soapbox. I've never had a soapbox on this show.
Oh, boy.
And I got something I want to say.
Let's go.
So, and I'm not going to say names. It's irrelevant. But, I mean, people will get the hint. I'm tired of hearing and maybe this is just me. I speak on it. Let me know if I'm being selfish or whatnot. I'm tired of anybody under 180 pounds in North America saying that they're the people to go through in that class. Because, in my opinion, nobody should say anything at under 180 pounds unless they pull Corey Miller. Because, in my opinion, he's the only person in North America you need to go through in that class. He's the one that's been there and done it all internationally, North American, or whatever. And so, and I get it. We have some phenomenal up and comers and all that. But for them to say they're the ones that you need to go through, I don't think anybody has the right to say anything unless they've been through Corey Miller.
What's
Well,
the context, Tim? Like, why are they saying this? Are they
They truly believe that they've done a lot and they're the best.
based on what though?
Back in the day, UAL, WAL,
Ooh.
pulling a couple international tournaments. I don't know. That's a great question.
I mean, I'm being honest because you know what I've noticed quietly, but no one's really said it. And you kind of was almost there, Tim. It just seems like the veterans, that'd be the three of us, you know, once you have 10 plus years in the sport, you're considered one of the veterans, right? So, Tim, how long you been pulling?
19 years.
Ryan, how long you been pulling?
75 years.
I'm at 14. It just seems like, you know, this new crop of pullers, and you know, they got the advantage because they got a lot of stuff going that we didn't have when we were first getting into the sport, right? So we had to scratch and claw. Everything's by word of mouth. Now with social media, you can put everything up there and stuff. And, you know, lo and behold, they just think that, you know, hey, silver spoon in mouth, call it what you want. But it just seems like us veterans over here are getting kicked to the side, and some of the newer people or the newer names are like coming in here and, you know, there are some people out there like that. And I'm like going, and then we've been called dinosaurs or gatekeepers and all that kind of stuff. I'm just like going, you know, that's what I took out of that.
Well, it sounds like the guy that Tim's talking about is a veteran. Like he used words like organizations like UAL. So I don't know, man. Like I can't think of a better example than Corey Miller for being like a guy that has been at the top for so long. So yeah, I mean, if this person hasn't beat him, they probably should do some homework.
Because I'll say this, you have to realize that has that person pulled Corey before? Because Corey's badass on a national level, international level, what have you. I mean, he's done, and Tim just said it, he's done it all, you know. So, you know, and it just burns me that, you know, some of these if they're youngsters or whatnot, you know, are acting like that. It's unfortunate, you know.
Well, that's how it goes. I mean, we're so quick to forget our history.
Yeah, you know,
it happens all the time. You know, the generation that's here now, if John Brzenk would have retired 5 years ago, they wouldn't even know who he was.
Right? You know, so
yeah,
it's a respect thing. Respect the foundation that people laid before you is where it comes down to.
Yeah. You guys been watching the Olympics?
I've been watching some.
You didn't boycott the Olympics?
No, I've been checking them out. I mean, sorry, but USA has been kicking ass. So
you can see in this little award right here, you can see the reflection of my TV.
Yeah, I see a lot of movement going on. At first, I thought it was a
swimming going on right now. So all these topless dudes on TV. It's not just just something weird that I'm watching. It's actually the Olympics.
Well, I saw like some movement going on, and I couldn't see what it really was. So I was like, well, shit, man, is that a cat up there crawling around? You know, but then I saw some blue, and I was like, oh, okay, that must be something else.
Looks like Warren's a boycotter of the Olympics. I did not enjoy the opening ceremonies. I thought it was stupid, but I'm not going to boycott the whole thing because of that. Because these athletes have been training for 4 years to get there and try to win an Olympic gold medal, and it's still sport at the highest level. It's like saying, you're never going to watch East versus West. Well, that's where the best are. You're going to deprive yourself of that?
Can you highlight Dan Woolley's comment? I want to touch on that. He says, remember when Derek Smith wouldn't pull champs and vice versa, all because of ranking? So let's talk about that for a second, and why. And I think some people, not all, but some, kind of forget why we got into the sport in the first place. Rankings can be a double-edged sword. You got some people who will sit there and do everything they can to hold on to a certain ranking. I'm not talking about these two gentlemen in particular, but I will say there are some people that and I know, and it can be a fucking state ranking, and they'll do that. Because we got some here in Oregon, they're a bunch of weirdos, right? So, yeah, I won't pull that person because a ranking, I'm like going, isn't that why you got into the sport, to compete? If you want to be, quote unquote, the best, sometimes you may have to go through your own countrymen in order to get there and do that. Right? Or am I wrong?
Well, for me, I always use the rankings as a way to kind of try and pick my next opponent, like try to move up the ladder or see who's coming up. But I mean, the weird part about this is the rankings. Is there really even a recognized ranking system? Like, everyone likes to use the In the Hook rankings, or one of those versions. But
Arm Fighter,
those are made by arm wrestlers who are in the rankings. So it's a little bit weird. There's no WAF rankings or an IFA ranking or a world recognized. Like, Engen has the rankings now, which are probably way more accurate, but you have to be part of that organization to be in them. Right.
So, well, first of all, there's two rankings. You got North America, and then you got the fighter ranking, which is the U.S. rankings, but they're totally different weight classes. And so a guy in the Hook may be 5th, but in the USA Arm Fighter rankings, they might be 7th. Same hand. Doesn't make any sense, but whatever, right? So
I think
I love when Corey brought out the errors, because that's based on wins and losses. You can't fake that. There ain't no, favoritism on that. So
I like what he's doing, but I can't wrap my head around it and get excited about it. I just can't. I've been trying.
But Corey's Aries?
Yeah.
I mean, I get where he's going. It's only because it takes out the favoritism, takes that out of it,
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I agree. It's a mathematical equation now. But unless you're competing at events, you can't really move up or down. Like, you got to find those tournaments that are using that ranking system.
A lot of them are going to that now. That's why everyone's turned their brackets into Corey, just for that. Not for that's the only reason, but that's part of it. But as far as
the other thing is when Corey decides he's done putting the effort in, it just dies. It goes away.
Well, he's been doing stuff for this sport for a long time, I mean, and I was mainly talking about like state rankings. I mean, a lot of those in the U.S. got state rankings. That's pretty cool, because you want to know, like you said, I want to gauge myself on my next opponent. I got that. You can go on the Oregon rankings page on Facebook, and you will not see my name on there, because I told them to take me off. Why? Because the simple fact that guys that were ahead of me, I would challenge them before my right hand went to shit. I would challenge them, and they were like, oh, yeah, you know what? Just go ahead and take my ranking. You're going to beat me anyway. And I'm like going, no. And it's like, yeah, just go ahead. It's not really worth it. I'm going to save myself for this tournament. Just go ahead and take my ranking. And I'm like going, that was not the whole purpose of us creating this whole thing in the first place. Or you had guys, I guess you can really, what's the word, gatekeeping now?
Yeah.
They would like, hey, well, I'm ranked number 3. I'm only focused on the guys above me, because the guy who was ranked number 8 challenged the guy who was at number 3. And 3 said, no, I'm only going to focus on those guys. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What if those 2 guys says, nah. Like, what are we doing here? Then you got that bullshit. So I was like, you know what? Take me completely off the rankings. I don't want nothing to do with that, because it got stupid. because the whole purpose of me and a few of the guys who created this in Oregon was to, it's bad enough that the Pacific Northwest are not known for arm wrestling unless you live there. We just don't get the love. So we created the Oregon rankings to kind of get, some fucking shot in the arm. We need that to get everybody to get up your ass and fucking go travel outside of your backyard and go pull some people instead of staying in your region. But they fucking still do it. So I just said, you know what? I'm done with it. Take me off.
The only effective, there's a few things. Like the only effective ranking system I really see is small regional ones, because they can make all the matches happen. So in Manitoba, the Southeast Smashers have a ranking system, and it seems to work pretty well. They have regular challenge matches, whether it's at practices or tournaments or whatever. The guys move up based on that. If you're going to use like the In the Hook rankings, it used to be a lot easier to figure out because you'd go to tournaments and you'd have a lot of data that you could consider. But now all the top guys are just doing super matches. They're not really going into tournaments. So you take a guy like Jerome Loud, gets a win over Chance Shaw at a tournament, but there's so many intangibles, and then Chance goes on and beats a bunch of the, upper echelon guys. How do you even calculate that into the ranking? Or you've got a guy living in New York and a guy living in LA that are next to each other in the rankings, and they might not ever see each other.
Right.
And in Canada, we don't really have a ranking system per se, but we have our nationals, and you know who the man is generally at that tournament. So you may not know who 2, 3, and 4 are, but you know who the man to beat is. So you can go after that guy, except if you're considering Devin, who doesn't. He's on a different level.
Well, once upon a time, 3 years ago, I was top 11 in the Hook rankings at 242 left hand, but I was active then. I'm not as active like I was then, therefore I'm not on there. So another thing you got to witness too is that if you want to be on that ranking and consistently on there, then you got to consistently pull. You got
an anomaly like a guy like Robbie Burnett, who can't get a damn match. That's why I agreed to pull him down in Texas.
Also, Gracies, I was number 5 in North America, and then after the 220 round robin, if you got one win, you got ranked in above everybody. It made zero sense. Like the person who took 3rd in there, who's ranked 4th in North America now, I just beat, but now I go to number 14 and he's at number 4. I don't know.
That's why I don't worry about rankings no more.
That. Yeah.
I got frustrated with them enough, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
I think I'm finally getting bored and I keep getting blown up, so I'm just going to let you guys go. And I'm sorry I couldn't talk more, but
safe travels, man.
Tell us what's going on this weekend, or can you?
Well, my event this weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's USA Fit Games in Scottsdale, Arizona. It's an Arnold qualifier on Saturday. Everybody's welcome. It's a huge expo. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know there's some other guys coming in, so if you can make it, flights are not bad to Arizona if you want to come qualify.
And what are you doing right now? Where are you flying?
So I'm flying to Detroit, driving over to pretty much London, Ontario. And if you're in the area tonight at 6:00 in St. Thomas, Ontario, at the Rail City Brewery, and we're doing a bunch of seminars, and Magna will be there, Josh Rodriguez will be there, Corey Miller, Sarah Bachman. So anybody in Ontario that wants to come out, see you at 6:00 tonight. We're giving away a lot of prizes, and just gonna have a good time.
If you ever get on that airplane, you'll be there at 6:00. Otherwise, it could be
I'm seeing it. They're getting ready to board, so I'm gonna walk over there and get the hell out of Boston.
All right, man. Safe travels.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
See you, buddy.
Take care. And just when you thought we were done with soapboxes,
we got more.
Yeah. You want to hear mine?
You got one too.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go.
So you riddle me this. When does weight actually matter in arm wrestling? Because that's also a double-edged sword to a certain degree. Where if you pull somebody who is much lighter than you, then on paper, you should win. And if you do win, well, you should have won anyway. But on the flip side, if you happen to lose to that person, then it's like, oh, you suck because you lost somebody who weighs much less than you. What are your thoughts on that?
The weight class is there for a reason, because a larger framed guy with longer levers and more muscle mass should be heavier. Now, there are intangibles. I mean, in a super heavyweight division, if somebody is 500 pounds and they've never lifted weights in their life, the weight does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you take a guy, well, let's use John. John Brzenk typically will pull into, or back in the day, he used to always pull super heavyweights. He'd pull his division, the one up and the one up, and he would win.
Right.
And, you know, he had enough power and table IQ and technical prowess that it would negate any weight advantage of his opponent.
Right.
But we're talking about normal people, like the average competitor.
We're talking about somebody in the lighter weight class will pull their class, and then, I'm going to go ahead and pull the class above me. You know, and it's just like, if they're good, they're good. I guess that's where I'm going with this. If they're good, they're good.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it almost seems like the guy in the heavier class gets discredited no matter what the outcome is.
You know, let's take boxing.
Okay.
Jake Paul has only fought one guy that was on the same size as him, and he lost that fight. He's been fighting washed up MMA guys, but they all have one thing in common. They are much, much smaller than him. There's an example of where size matters.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, you know, in arm wrestling, it's just a matter of, it's the one sport where there's no clear lines, and you could see somebody who is a novice in a class with a pro,
and
the weight will not matter. In women's, it matters, is what Lucky says. Now, to a point. I mean, obviously, somebody that's 150 pounds going against somebody that's 250 pounds, that's going to be a big discrepancy. But let's say it's Gabriella going against somebody that outweighs her by 100 pounds. Maybe it doesn't matter.
Hold on, bro. I got my dogs underneath playing. Move. Let's go.
Is the dog chewing the computer cords?
Well, they're like, both of them are like underneath the table, like horse playing around, and like right by the cord. I swear to God, if they hit the power switch, I'm knocking them out. So, all right, they're gone. All right. So, yeah.
There's so many scenarios with this question.
What's that?
There's so many scenarios.
Yeah, but that's what makes it good about this sport. But I just hate when people say, you know, things like, oh, well, they should have won because look how much you outweigh them by, or, you know, oh, you suck because someone lighter than you beat you. It's like, this sport is so.
I don't think I don't buy into that. That's weird when people say stuff like that. One of the most exciting things that happens for me at a national championships is the second most exciting thing is when someone who's heavier shows up 20 pounds lighter and enters a lighter class, because you don't know what's going to happen. The most exciting thing is when all of a sudden, I'll use Anthony Dell'Antonia. He shows up 10 pounds heavier, he's put on some muscle, and all of a sudden he's in that heavier weight class. And you're like, oh my God, like what's going to happen here? And now you're watching this tournament with intent because you can't miss anything. You're seeing a guy that was smaller come up, and you definitely, he would have won in the lighter class for whatever reason. He's just more muscular and he's bigger now, and he goes in and he kind of kills that one too. So
I would love to hear Lucky's, and Lucky, if you're still watching, I would love to have you elaborate more on that about in women it matters, in her opinion, because to a certain degree, because you can take. I think experience plays a part of it too. She goes, it matters to the ladies coming in. I should specify 135-pound girl shows up and has to pull a 225 girl. She generally doesn't come back. It depends on the puller.
Yes. Now we're talking about newer arm wrestlers, right? So if there's no weight class for that 135-pound girl and she has to get thrown in there in an open class, yeah, she's probably not having a good time and probably will not come back to the sport. If we're in a higher rank and the 135-pound girl is an elite arm wrestler and jumps into that bigger class just for a challenge, that's a totally different thing.
If we're talking like, we'll just say, we'll use Victoria Carlson for an example.
It's a good example.
I have a good, or even Carolina Pedersen. I guarantee you they can hold their own if they were to walk up into a heavier weight class.
Yeah.
At a tournament. But when it comes to a big tournament, like a national or something like that, or a world, then they kind of just go back to where they're comfortable at, you know?
Yeah. Every sport is like that, though, Jody. Even in fighting, if somebody moves up a weight class and they challenge for something like a belt or whatever, if they lose, well, they're supposed to lose. If they win, it's awesome.
Right.
You know, but on the flip side of that, the heavier guy could take a lot of crap because he got beat by a smaller guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is sometimes. And that's just, you know, because you got to realize, too, once you get into that heavyweight, super heavyweight class, depending on what tournament you go to, that's the class you pull in. Whereas the lighter guy can go, I'm pulling my class, the class above that, and the class above that if they wanted to. Us heavier guys don't have that option. You know?
Hey, we haven't seen Jay Clean in a while.
Clean. What are we talking? Oh, Soapbox City. Tim had one before he left. Ryan had one to kick us off. I just talked about one. So it's a Soapbox Tuesday. You know what I mean?
It is, because we don't have anything on the immediate horizon. Next week we will.
Yeah.
Because we got the Big East versus West North America card.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a lot of guys putting out prediction shows already.
I don't want to do it too early. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's too soon.
Because between now and then, something can really happen and it may alter that. That's why, you know, and I'll give you an example. That Challenger Series, the one match I was really looking forward to never happened. And it's kind of like, okay. You know what I mean? That was the RVJ versus Jerome Loud match. Never happened.
Oh, yeah, man.
I was really looking forward to that.
Jerome Loud at an event. Somebody, please.
And I still think it's bullshit, the fact that he was never given an opportunity to have a replacement match. Why?
They could have found a replacement.
Yeah, if they really wanted to, and that's messed up.
Yeah.
But then RVJ pulls out for whatever reason. But isn't he on that Canada card where you're pulling at?
RVJ, yeah, he sure is.
Yeah. So what are we doing?
What
are we doing?
I don't know. He's pulling Alan Ford.
So you pull Alan Ford, right? But you don't pull Jerome Loud. I'm scratching my head about that. I'm not trying to discredit RVJ. I'm not calling him out, but these are the facts. You pulled out of that match with Jerome Loud at an East vs. West Challenger Series for whatever reason. He stayed off social media, but then he'll continue to have this match coming up because last I heard, I haven't heard him pull out of this match with Alan Ford. I'm confused.
Maybe the path for Jerome Loud is to go to the Arnolds.
Hey, you know what? Maybe he needs to do that because for a guy who's not really on the social media scene, that guy got way too much talent. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey, I got a question for Lucky. I hope she's listening right now and is caught up and is live. What is the rationale for having just a female qualifier for the Arnolds? Just curious about that. Now, not that I have anything against it or a problem with it. I do not.
Right.
Just thought it would be a lot easier to hold an event with a lot more entries to help pay, you know, all the stuff that you got to pay. Because the chances are, I mean, I think the Arnold qualifiers are going to be pretty well attended.
Yeah. I even think, and I could be stepping into a lot of stuff here when I say that, but one would say these Arnold qualifiers might be a lot more popular than the East versus West qualifiers, because when East versus West first originally started doing their qualifiers, it was good. Then they started to water them down. Then it's like, oh, okay, now they're not as, they don't mean as much anymore. Now it's like the attitude is like, so.
Well, I'm hoping that the high five guys don't make the same mistake and just suddenly say, if you give us $100, you're in.
I mean, I thought, in my opinion, when they did that at the first finals, they fucked that whole thing up by doing that. Because now you tarnish something that could have been big, and people still showed up because, people still want to get, their chance to be on the card, and they did. And I'm not knocking them for that, but it could have been a lot bigger than that and more prestige, but they fucked it up by saying, hey, just give me $100 and you're in. Now that just discredited every qualifier you had leading up to that. You discredited all the guys that had to go through the hoops in order to get to that path to the finals by doing that. Then you start slapping every tournament with an East versus West qualifier. Like, stop. You got 40 entries. No.
Interestingly, stop. I'll put Lucky's comment up here in a sec. The one they had in Manitoba, the last East versus West qualifier, I believe the promoter was paying flights. There we go.
Look who's here.
I believe the promoter was paying flights down to East versus West, and could not give away the flight in the end. Like, could not find someone to go.
Right.
Okay. Pre-established. Winner one. When our women have the opportunity, regular tournaments will have 3 to 6 women qualify. We will have 10. Okay. That's interesting. Now, I guess the question is, if you have 10 women qualify in each class, do you think it removes the motivation for a strong women's turnout at the other qualifiers?
Well, here's the thing. You got multiple qualifiers, right? And not to mention, they got qualifiers in Korea, if I'm not mistaken. High five, help me out. I think they got, other qualifiers in other countries also. So don't just think United States and that's it. Because you got Canada, you got, I believe, maybe South America. You got other countries involved. So don't just strictly focus on just the United States when it comes to the Arnold, So you got to look at it that way too. Because there's going to be some people across the pond, you have no idea who they are. But on the flip side, they have no idea who you are. So that's one way of looking at it. And from a lady standpoint, that can be a monumental spot where it can grow too. You know what I mean?
The only helps women who can attend qualifiers. Fair enough. But let's say, somebody is somewhere in between your qualifier and my qualifier, and they go and they place 9th at yours. Well, there's no motivation for them to come up and qualify at mine. That's all I'm saying. Some people will hunt that down until they get to it.
Oh, another one. Make the move, says IFA. Enter and you're on the team. Ruin the challenge of being a champion. To a certain degree, I have to admit, as an IFA guy, yes. I mean, you go to the nationals. You can just go and finish last place and go 0-2. You're still on Team USA. Kind of takes away the prestige of that. And
okay,
I'm thinking this though.
This is different now. Check this out.
What?
They have to win a super match to qualify, so it's different.
Who has to win a super match?
That's at the women's qualifier.
Who put that rule in?
It's a different format altogether by the looks of it.
Is it because they don't have the entries?
I don't know.
Damn.
Anyway, go on with your thought about IFA.
I'm hoping, and this is for US, right?
Yeah.
Yes, there's this thing where you go to IFA Nationals and you're on the team. You can go 2 and out, whatever, you're on the team USA. It's like, so I see where Make the Moves is saying this. I totally get that. But at the same time, I'm hoping at some point, when do you take off the training wheels and go, okay, now you got to qualify. Like now you got to place top 2 like it used to be, right? I just saw the roster for Team USA going to WAF Worlds, and I was like, this is our team. And Make the Moves, I will send you that. Matter of fact, I'm going to send it to you right now because I was like, you got to be kidding me, right? Like, this is our team. And I'm not downgrading them because there are some guys on that list that I'm like going, oh, that's pretty badass. But at the same time, it's like, that's our team. But this is what happens when you don't promote your event. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're about to have a guest on here. She's going to come on and explain
Please
exactly what is happening.
Let's go. Bonus action.
5 minutes left, and then I got to change my shirt and go for lunch.
And then I got my own show at 10 o'clock, y'all. I got Greg Sharp and Don Underwood on Arm Talk at 10 o'clock West Coast time. So, yes, that's about a half hour away. So, yes.
Shout out to Mario.
We got our guest coming on.
Spartans. There we go.
Hey.
Lucky, what's up?
How y'all doing?
Good. So explain what's going on now. You got to win a Supermaster qualify.
So the On the Rise event has 10 spots open, and it's basically like an East versus West pay-per-view or like Knuckles Up or whatever, where each lady is competing in their own area again. Right. So like Stephanie's going to be in San Diego competing against Katie and Amanda. Scarlett and Lisa are doing a match in Georgia. We have one in West Virginia, one happening in West Virginia. And so they're all going to stream in. And so whoever wins not only gets a personalized trophy that we're sending out, but also gets the East versus West qualifier to help boost the women's numbers. Because, I mean, honestly, in all the qualifiers, it's going to have 1 or 2 women that actually can attend the Arnolds, if we're being honest. Just because we all know women in tournaments and getting places is hard for us. Mm-hmm. So this way, it just helps the high five guys really push it amongst the ladies. And then that way, if they do qualify, they're more motivated to get to the Arnolds in March.
Okay, so what is that? Is that based on weight class too? Because, or are they all within the...
So basically, most of them are the same. There's like 2 lightweight matches and I think 4 like 155 plus matches. Mm-hmm. So we don't have any open class matches. The ladies are pretty evenly matched up. And so they will just qualify for whatever weight class they technically win their super match in.
Got it. That's a unique. That's kind of different.
For me, like Ryan was saying, like I have 2 qualifiers within driving distance of where I am. So I'm personally not doing a match to keep that spot open for somebody who can't get to a qualifier because I can get to a qualifier. So I'm doing the VAL in August. On August 24th, I'll be at the Virginia. And then if I don't win, then I'll try again at the November one.
Top 3.
Yeah, which, I'm not resting on my laurels, but we'll see. I haven't not gotten top 3 at a VAL tournament yet, so I hope that this isn't my first time.
Well, if for some reason you can't qualify, I know a certain tournament up in Canada around December 7th you can also go to also.
I already got sponsored to go to Lorraine's.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. See? Same weekend, right?
Gotcha. Same weekend. Same
weekend.
Well, I'll tell you, I've actually been, the personal invites I've been sending out have been mostly to female arm wrestlers.
Nice.
So I'm trying to build those 2 classes up.
I'm going to message Sarah Wilson, make sure she's aware of it, because I already told her about Lorraine's.
She's very aware.
All right, cool. Because I told her about Lorraine's thing because I didn't know about your thing, so I apologize. But I won't take her away from you.
No, Sarah, yeah, she's aware. I think Earl might be coming out here too, so we'll see.
Awesome. Well, I'm in the middle of setting up my classroom. School's about to start in a couple of weeks. So hashtag buy stuff off my wish list. Shameless plug.
Oh, I forgot you guys are back in school.
Yeah. So getting ready to finish the word classroom.
We must be late because in Oregon, we don't start school till after Labor Day.
We don't do it.
But don't you guys go until like the middle of June?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'd rather start early and end early.
Right.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for inviting me on. I just wanted to clear that up.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
Have a good day at school.
Thank you. Talk to y'all later.
Bye.
Later. Well, Jody, that should be almost a wrap for us.
Yes, sir. I see you got your Olympic stool rolling back there in the background, and I'm going to prep up for my
gymnastics now.
Oh, America's just taking over with that. Let's be real.
There's two events that I think the USA is pretty much a guarantee.
Talking about the basketball?
Yeah.
You do know our women's basketball is like on a 36-game win streak?
Really?
In Olympic play? Yeah. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Wow.
Yeah, guys, in about 30 minutes, I'll be on my show, Arm Talking. I'll have Greg Sharp, Don Underwood. There's going to be some questions I'm going to ask them. I know a question was asked to me, hey, when is season 2 coming out on Tubi TV? I will make that a priority to ask because I know a lot of people are asking me, since I'm one of the guys among many are promoting the World Series of Arm Wrestling. They want to know when season 2 is coming out. So I'm like, well, none better than to ask the guy himself, Greg Sharp. So I'll have Greg, Don Underwood on about a half hour on my YouTube channel. So
right on, man. Well, good luck with that.
Yes.
I will watch it later. I've got a thing. But yeah.
It was a very interesting soapbox.
Ah, man, all three of them.
Do you know how soapboxes just carry the whole show? Have you noticed that?
Yeah. And people seem to enjoy them.
Yes. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Next week, we'll have a serious topic. We'll talk about the East versus West on the mainland. We'll talk about Tim's Arnold Classic qualifier. So we're going to have some fun next week.
Yeah. And we'll know who some of the competitors will be for the Arnold finals by this time next week.
I do like those qualifier awards. Those are pretty nice.
Yeah.
I do like that.
Okay. I hope to get
everybody. For some of y'all, I'll see y'all in a half hour. Ryan, I will see you next week, sir.
See you next week.
Take care.